everyone, you are watching BQ Prime. Auto companies are coming with their sales number today for month of November, and Maruti Suzuki, the biggest player in the passenger vehicle segment, has come out with the number as well. We have Shashank Srivastava with us, Executive Director of Sales and Marketing with the company. Shashank sir, I want to start with what's your total overall outlook for the industry right now? Seeing the number, the 11 months have been out now for the year, and what do you have seen, and what's your outlook for the industry for the coming months?
So if you look at the November figures for the industry, 3.23 lakhs compared with 2.46 lakhs of last year. That's a growth of about 31.5%. That's pretty good growth, I would say, over the last year for November. November month figure is in fact the highest ever November we have seen in the industry. And this is also the 6th consecutive month that we have seen in the industry 300,000 plus wholesales. Having said that, and if you look at the January to November numbers, the industry crossed the 3.5 million mark against last year of about 2.82 million. So that's a growth of almost 25% over last year on the calendar year basis. And it is expected that Jan to December, we will see the industry very close to 3.8 million. That is the highest ever calendar year figure you have seen. Last year it was 3.08 million, and the highest we have had was earlier was 2018, which was about 3.38 million. So overall, it does appear that we are back to the pre-COVID numbers, slightly actually higher than the pre-COVID numbers.
And that too, as I understand, is with some challenges still remaining around the semiconductor shortage. So that is not completely resolved from what I've heard from other companies as well. So do you think
Absolutely.
that once that gets resolved, the industry will be ready to scale much higher heights in the coming years?
Yeah, obviously, because you have pending bookings, and it's only a question of trying to increase the production in those models. And one of the big constraints that we are finding is the availability of the semiconductor. So while the last few months we have seen in general improvement on the semiconductor front, but is still not very clear, and we still are not 100%. And that's actually the reason why we have the bookings pending. So semiconductor issue is actually not resolved fully. And the problem is that if we are asked the question when it will be fully resolved, we are unable to give a definitive reply, because the visibility of semiconductor going forward is a little less. And therefore, it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly when things will become normal. And I can tell you, things are not 100% normal, were not normal in November, neither are they going to be in December as well.
Okay. There has been some talks of sales plateauing in the smaller car segment, which is your Auto and Espresso in your case. What has been your observation there?
So in this year, we have seen good growth actually in that segment. The small car segment. In fact, Alto, if you see, Alto is in the top 3 selling cars. It was the top selling car in October, in September. And so in that sense, in fact, if you look at the financial year figure, April to November, the top 5 models are all small cars. But the thing with small car is that if you look at the absolute number and compare not with last year, but with 3 years back, then the absolute volumes have fallen. And that is the reason for that is the affordability has come down for these customers. And one of the prime reasons for that is the increase in prices. The cost of acquisition for these models have risen faster than the increase in the income levels of this category of customer. As a result, affordability factor has come down, and that's reflected in the lower volumes.
Okay. Do you think that could be a challenge? Maruti has a plan to gain back its market share, and they have come out with Brezza and Grand Vitara as well to make inroads there. So do you think that could be a challenge if your small cars are declining in overall share, but it still remains a big chunk? So do you think that could be a challenge if affordability remains an issue to gain back the market share that you're aiming for?
Absolutely, because as market leaders, while we are targeting 50% market share in the medium term, it's possible only if we have a larger market share in the SUV segment. We have in the hatch segment a 70% plus market share. Overall, in the non-SUV segment, Maruti Suzuki's market share is 65%. In fact, increased over the previous 4 or 5 years. So clearly, a drop in the percentage of sales or the contribution of the smaller cars is a challenge, because that's an area where we have very high market share. So we on one hand, we have to sustain the market share and the volumes also in that segment. At the same time, expand our presence in the SUV segment. And that has been the central strategy that we have been following. We have introduced the Vitara and also the Brezza in the SUV segment. Still, we have only 2 models against 46 models in the industry. And going forward, there is a need to strengthen the SUV portfolio even more. And that's what we're going to do by introducing more SUV cars in the near future.
Has the demand tapered off significantly after the festivals, or is it a small drop?
No, so compared with October, the demand is lesser, of course. It's always been the case all the years. But on the absolute number, the retail has been pretty strong. 200 retail estimate is about 285,000, which is pretty strong for the month immediately after the festive month.
I wanted to get your views on the CNG segment as well. The prices have caught up with their alternatives like diesel and petrol. And do you think that is a big concern, because you have a big share in that segment, and it keeps on rising, and the differential that used to be there, it's not that big now?
So if you look at the cost of running cost, even with the elevated prices that we have seen recently in CNG, the cost of running, it compares very well with the diesel and the petrol. Diesel and petrol cost of running is about 5 rupee per kilometer, whereas for CNG it is half of that, roughly 2.5, 2.6 rupees per kilometer. So in that sense, it is still a very, very attractive vehicle to have. Second, as far as the cost of acquisition goes, not the running cost, but the cost of acquisition, the CNG vehicles are around 95,000 more expensive than the gasoline vehicles. Whereas the diesel vehicles are 150,000 to 200,000 more expensive than the petrol vehicles. So the cost of acquisition for diesel vehicle and the running cost now means that there is no economic logic for going in for diesel vehicles. And that's why we have seen in the recent few years, the share of diesel in the overall market has dropped drastically. It used to be 58% a few years back to less than 18% this year. So that is because the economics doesn't favor. And hopefully the CNG prices might come down in the future, in which case the running cost advantage will become even more stark. As far as Maruti Suzuki is concerned, we have more than 75% market share in that segment. And clearly, this year, if you see the percentage of CNG in our portfolio sales have gone up to 21%. So we are obviously betting big on CNG.
I wanted to come back to the smaller cars segment. As we normally see that towards the end of the year, the discounting rises because people are looking to get the newer model from the next year. So do you think because of the affordability issue and the time of the year that we are in, that discounting can go even higher than we have seen previously in last years?
So actually, the discounting is a factor of the gap between supply and demand. So if the supply is less, demand is more, there will be no discounting. If supply is more, discount and demand is less, then obviously the pressure to get the stock off from the stockyards is obviously higher, and hence the higher sales promotion and discounting. Typically, and you're right, typically in towards the end of the year, when the registration model year changes, at that time consumers would prefer to buy vehicles of the 2023 rather than 2022. And in response to that, what OEMs do is they sort of moderate their production, and so as to keep the factory stock and the network stock low. So that is the reason why you see a higher level of sales promotion in December, and also you therefore see a higher level of sales as well In fact, in the previous years, we have seen December is one of the highest selling months in terms of retails. So I guess that's going to happen this year as well. However, where demand is high and we are still not able to produce vehicles, there I would expect discount levels to be muted.
Okay. But particularly for Maruti, what could be the levels of discounting that we can see in the small car segment for this year?
So very difficult to answer that question because model-wise it varies. One, second, as I said, it's a function of the demand and supply gap, and geographically it is quite different. Okay. So to give a rough number seems to be rather difficult. However, if you look at our average sales promotion, which is reflected in our quarterly reports, quarterly results, roughly it is around 13,000-14,000 in the last 2 quarters per vehicle.
Okay. What's your pending book order book looking like right now?
Today it was 375,000.
Okay. And what is the share of Grand Vitara in
it? Grand Vitara pending book is around 58 or 57,000, that range.
Okay. And I want to get into the nitty-gritties of it. So what is the pending order book for Grand Vitara, but for strong hybrid version?
Strong hybrid, the pending booking is roughly 30%.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. That's all I wanted to ask you. Thank you for joining VQ Prime and talking to us.
Thank you very much.